in your car and just couldn't figure out how to do it without making a mess? Well, I have a solution to your problem with these super easy and delicious cake pops. What you need, the perfect shape to these cake pops, and the final steps to these awesome cake pops. First, let's get this process started with what you need. You will need box cake. I chose the French vanilla. You can choose whatever you want. 2 jars of icing, again of your choice. I chose the vanilla and the white. A cookie sheet, wax paper, lollipop sticks, and for a little bit of extra sparkle, sprinkles. First step, you make your cake. For the best turnout from an article by Bakerella, you will want super moist because it will help the cake stick together better in your cake pop whenever you crumble it into the bowl. Next, let's get started in creating these cake pops. The first step we will do in creating them is taking about 2/3 cup of icing, dumping it into a bowl, and then taking your cake and crumpling it into the bowl with your icing. You don't want to put too much icing because then it will overpower your cake and the cake pops will be too heavy to be held with the stick. You're going to mix this in with your hands. You can use a fork or a spoon, but it's much easier to mix it with your hands so you can make sure you get it all mixed together and make sure every piece of cake is covered and all the icing has cake with it. So then you're going to mix it until it is to about this consistency where it still falls apart but is still moist enough to mix together. Then you will take the cake and roll it into little balls. You don't want to make the balls too big just because you want the sticks to be able to hold them. Make them about that shape. You will repeat this process until you make as many cake pops as you desire. You're making these balls with circular shape and with your palms of your hand. After you have that step completed, you will then take your lollipop stick, dip about 3 inches into the melted icing, and stick it into your cake pop. And at this point, if it falls apart, you just need to smush it back together. You will dip these into the icing just to make sure that they stick completely to the cake pop and don't fall off the stick whenever you pick them up. Now, this wax paper needs to be on the cookie sheet to make sure that it does not stick when you put it in the freezer. After you have that step done, you will stick it into the freezer for 1 hour so they completely harden and stay together. Finishing up, the final step is the dipping process. So you will take your jar of icing and melt it in the microwave for 20-second increments. This took me about 2 or 3 times of 20-second increments. It will come into that shape. You will take your already frozen cake pops, dip them into the icing, pull them up, and then let it drip for a little bit. And to make sure it's fully covered, you will dip it one more time. You may have to repeat this process a couple more times before it is completely dipped. Then you will just set it back on the tray. Again, you will repeat this process with all of your cake pops. And after, when it is still wet, you will take your sprinkles and lightly drizzle them over the cake pops. After you're done with that step, you will stick them in the freezer again for another hour. Then you will take them out, and it's time for the funnest part. You'll get to eat them. Now that you know what you need to make cake pops, the perfect shape of the cake pops, and the final step to the cake pops, now you and everyone else around you can enjoy these delicious cake pops.